Hi everyone, it's Sarina Fazan. Thank you so much for joining us. And as people who watch me know, it's my absolute favorite day. It's Wednesday, and it's time to go on the record. And I am thrilled, I cannot hide my excitement to have Andrew H. Warren here, Hillsborough County State Attorney. The third time you've been on the record, but the first time that you've actually been in the studio.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. The H is for Hillsborough, by the way.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
H is for...
that's a recent change.
Well, you know what? I was just in your office, and I so appreciate you inviting me in there. I was doing an interview with you, and didn't I say to you, isn't it great for your wife and your kids to see the Andrew H. Warren? I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, they get a kick out of it when they come to the office still. I think it faded a little bit after the first few times for them, but I still like it. So,
you know, one thing I love about this show, and I know we're starting on a very light note, but I'm not in traditional news anymore, so I can openly speak on people who I think are absolutely fantastic and great. And Andrew Warren, I think you are great.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual. I love talking with you about things affecting our community and our criminal justice system, and it's just nice to have a conversation.
Well, thank you so much again. And I told, you've been on now 3 times. One on a special Valentine's Day episode, actually, you and your wife, Alex, who is just wonderful. And all the podcasts are still, you can find them on YouTube and Facebook, so I would encourage you to watch that. But I really appreciate you coming back on a serious topic, because the show that we first did, honestly, has been my #1 show out of 81 episodes so far. So I really appreciate that.
I'm glad that, one, it's been #1 show, of course, because we talked about important topics, but it's nice to be back without my wife so that she won't overshadow me today like she did on the Valentine's episode.
Well, it's funny, and that was such a fun one, and I want her back on the show for all her amazing causes that she does and for what she does in the community.
Thank you.
So Alex, do you hear that? That's on the record. You have to come back. But, the first show that we did, granted, we also talked about the Tiger King.
Yes.
But we did, on a very serious note, we did talk about the courts and the unprecedented time that we all went through with COVID. So to get back on a very serious note, can you talk to us what's happening now and what was happening then? Like, you guys never shut down.
That's right, we never did. So when COVID hit last March, it was unprecedented for the courts and the criminal justice system. We had to figure out a way to keep the process moving forward, even though we couldn't really bring people into the courthouse. So most of the work that we do, the investigations, the prosecution, the preparation for trial, still happened. We just weren't doing trials for 6 months. The problem is it created a huge backlog. So starting in October of last year, we started trying cases again. In fact, from last fall until this spring, our office prosecuted more than 25% of the felony trials across the state of Florida. And we did it in a way that we're keeping our employees safe, witnesses and victims coming into the courthouse safe, all the courthouse personnel. And so we've had state attorneys from around the state be like, how did you guys do this? But it was collaboration with our chief judge, Ron Figueroa, with our public defender, Julie Holt. We figured out a way to make it work, because at the end of the day, our job is about public safety, and we can't let public safety just out of our focus for even one moment, even though we were dealing with COVID.
And Andrew, I wanted to talk to you about that, because when we discussed this the first time, I know every single case is important, of course, but are there some cases that really had to take front and center first?
Yeah, there were. So when we decided that we were going to open up the courts again to try cases with a limited capacity, we focused on the most serious offenses for a couple reasons. One is because those are the cases that pose the greatest threat to public safety. So the people who are committing, we had murder cases and rape cases that we put to the front of the list. Also, when we were bringing in jurors who were a little bit skeptical about, oh my God, I'm leaving my house and I'm coming into the building. And even though we did all these things to keep them healthy, we didn't want jurors coming in for like a typical third-degree felony or a misdemeanor case. We wanted to maximize juror time by prioritizing the most important cases we had in the office. So that was our focus. So we were one of the first jurisdictions in the entire country to do a homicide trial, a murder trial, after COVID began. And we had court TV down here because they said, well, you're the only ones doing this. And we've tried a lot of homicide trials that have just been in the pipeline for years because we were able to keep things moving.
So I want to talk about those cases, but before we get to that, because we did talk about the jurors, and we mentioned that when we did the first show on getting jurors into the courthouse, because I know even when things are normal or things are great, sometimes that can be challenging, right, is bringing jurors in. Have you seen it more challenging now, or are you surprised that you're getting good jury pools in?
I was pleasantly surprised that people responded positively to jury duty. When they saw what we had done, separating people while they're waiting to get picked for a jury, using larger courtrooms, socially distancing them within the courtroom, having people wear masks, they realized that we were concerned for their health and safety. And then jurors actually, they really are great. And I encourage people to come down to the courthouse and watch trial because you really gain an appreciation not just for the process, but for how much jurors take the process seriously. They show up. They're sacrificing their time to do it. It's one of the highest forms of civic service that you can engage other than voting. They take it really seriously. So it's been a really good experience over the last year.
So speaking of that, and we were talking about some of the cases, and especially 3 even before we started the show, if you don't mind talking about the 3 cases that you've seen recently, and how were those the first big 3 ones, or how did you? Clearly, we know, if it's a major crime, and we need to get it before a judge, But how did you guys determine that? What was the process behind it?
Well, we sat down with the public defender's office and the judges, and we really just tried to come up with a list of cases based on how old they were and how serious the crimes were, and to get those moving. And just recently, it was a kind of a strange coincidence. We had 3 very high-profile trials finish up within the same week. We had the trial against Ronnie O'Neill. That was the just horrific case where he had killed the mother of his children, and he killed his own daughter, and he stabbed his own son. And he was convicted of all those counts, and that was a 3-week-long trial that made national and international news. We had a case recently, another tragic case where a couple kids, and they were kids, 16 at the time, had robbed a father and his son of their dirt bike and had shot the father and killed him. And the boy had to watch his father die in the robbery. That was actually one of the first homicides that occurred in 2017 when I had taken over, and so it took 4 years to get to trial. But we were able to convict the defendants of that case. And then we've been trying a lot of sexual assault cases, a lot of cases where child victims, these are just tragic and brutal cases sometimes to watch because you're seeing the victims up on the stand go through and having to relive the most difficult time in their life. But we've had a series of cases now where we have convicted sexual predators and had them sentenced to life in prison over and over and over because it's been a priority, as I said, to make sure we're targeting those things, those crimes that pose the greatest threat to public safety.
I had one of your judges just in, speaking of the O'Neill case, Judge Michelle Sisko was in, and I know, that case was crazy because, he was defending himself and so many things, and a lot of people don't know this. I haven't even shared this with you, but so I weigh in on Nancy Grace now and her show, Crime Online, but that's one of the cases that we're going to be weighing in on. One of the reasons why I love this show so much is that, it's not a traditional news show. It's also personal. It's, we have conversations. I have noticed in a lot of the videos, sometimes you actually go into the courtroom and you sit in the courtroom. Now, I worked in New Orleans where Harry Connick Sr. was actually the DA. Yep. And I did a lot of cases, covering the courts. He didn't often go inside and sit in the courtroom. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but I do see a lot of videos where you go and sit in the courtroom. Why do you think that's important? It's also, I know you're a dad to beautiful girls, but why do we see you in the courtroom a lot?
That's my job. I mean, I just feel that it's so important for me to be there to see what's happening in the courtrooms, in trials, for a couple of reasons. One is because I want to know what's happening in the moment in an important case in our office. Two, it allows me with our younger attorneys in lower level cases to give direct feedback to attorneys on how they did in court and how they can improve. But one of the main reasons is I just like it. I mean, I've been a prosecutor throughout my career, so there are times where not only will you see me sitting, with the family of the victim or the next of kin, and to be able to hold their hands and support them during the trial, but if you look closely, you'll see the white knuckles, because I want to jump out of my seat sometimes and stand up and actually litigate the case. We have a fantastic team of attorneys, and so it's my privilege to go and watch them as we're trying these really important cases on behalf of our community.
Did you ever imagine that you would be the state attorney? And did you, like, your mom and dad must be so proud, right? But did you ever imagine that you would be the state attorney?
I really never did. By the time I knew that I was going to law school, I wanted to be a prosecutor, and I was really fortunate in my career to spend a decade with the Justice Department. I did these really high-profile, amazing cases all over the country. It's still one of the highest honors of my career to be able to walk into courtrooms all over the country and announce Andrew Warren on behalf of the United States. It's a really cool thing when you get to represent your country. So I never saw myself sort of doing much beyond that, but, well, life is full of surprises and twists and turns, so.
And I know we're going all over the place, but would you, like with young kids, I have, I love talking about kids and young kids. Would you encourage, young students to go into law school? And before you answer that question, so Leah Roddenberry, I was just on the phone with her talking to her, just so you know, she's Miss Tampa. And she has now won Miss Florida. She's done several videos with me, and she's the first Miss Tampa in 30 years from Tampa that has won Miss Florida. But she is taking a gap year from law school, and so I was talking, she was going to come in today because you were going to be here, but she couldn't be. But I said, you know what, I'm going to ask him that question. I'm going to ask him that question about, would you encourage kids to go to law school?
I do. I would. I mean, if it fits what they want to do. I don't know if law school is the best fit for people who are like, I'm not sure what I want to do with my career. And I have a lot of friends from law school and in the legal profession who like what they do, but they don't love it. But I knew I wanted to be a prosecutor. Friends of mine who said, this is what I want to do with my law degree. This is the type of lawyer I want to be. For the most part, they have really enjoyed what they've done. And as the saying goes, when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So
yes, absolutely. And do you feel that I feel personally that Hillsborough County and what you've done at the state attorney's office really does set an example? And as you said, clearly proof of action with court TV coming and observing, or like sitting and filming one of the trials, right?
Yeah, we've been really proud of what we've done here on the policy side, been able to keep crime down, the partnerships we have with our sheriff and chiefs of police, and this is just a great community. And Sarina, as you know, I'm from Gainesville. I'm not from Tampa, but I'm born and bred Floridian. And having relocated to Tampa and just been welcomed into this community, and now to be a part of it, not just as a father and as a voter, but as an elected official, it's been really rewarding for me and my family.
Well, speaking of family and kids, and I know you're so passionate about keeping everybody safe, but you do have a very special program, and you have several programs that you've been doing, one focused on teenagers. So I want to talk about that, but we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm Sarina Fazan. We're all so busy, and if you're like me, laundry is at the bottom of your to-do list.
If only you could take care of it in a zip, right? Well, I have news for you. With Zips Dry Cleaners in South Tampa, you can. Affordable, fast, and stress-free. That's why Zips is Tampa's favorite dry cleaners. For just 99 cents a pound, Zips will wash and fold your laundry for you. Just drop off your dirty laundry before 9 a.m. and you'll have it back, fresh and clean, the very next day. Have dry cleaning too? Drop it off by 9 a.m. and it will be ready the same day by 5 p.m. for just $2.49 an item.
And even more convenient, Zips will drop off your dry cleaning and your laundry for a small added fee. Zips didn't invent dry cleaning, but they perfected it. Stop by and see for yourself. I'm Sarina Fazan, and like most people, my skin is a priority. When you look good, you feel good. That's why I turned to South Tampa Dermatology, a full-service medical and cosmetic dermatology practice. Dr. Flynn and her dream team offer the products, services, and procedures I need to keep my skin healthy so I can perform at my very best, and they can do the very same thing for you. It's affordable, and your confidence is priceless. Just head to stderm.com or call 813-872-9551 to make an appointment.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Record. I'm thrilled to have Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren here. We have been talking about a variety of things, and coming back from the break, I want to talk to you that you are the father of two beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
Elliot and Lucy. Love them. We have a little special thing that we're going to show at the end. But talk to me about the seriousness of kids and the things that you are actually doing outside of the court system and some of the programs that you are very passionate about.
Well, people think of the state attorney as the person who's prosecuting cases in the courthouse, but the reality is that our mission is about public safety, and we can further that mission outside of the courthouse. So we get involved in a lot of policies and programs to try to prevent crime, to try to, especially with kids, to steer them off the path towards criminality and back on the path towards being constructive citizens. So, the fact is, every contact that somebody has with the criminal justice system increases the likelihood of future contact. So when we see kids getting involved, that first offense, low-level thing, we don't want to put them through a traditional method of prosecution. We want to steer them in a different direction. So we do that through diversion programs we have, civil citation programs we have that hold kids accountable through basically putting them on probation without actually charging them and convicting them of crimes, because that can hang with them for the rest of their lives. And we do so much work with agencies like the Boys and Girls Club, the mentorship programs, to try to make sure that kids are never even seeing the inside of the courthouse, because that's one of the most effective ways we can actually prevent crime is by stopping it before it ever happens.
Well, as you just mentioned, because it does stick with them forever. So what inspired this, and how are we unique in these programs compared to other state attorney offices?
So I've been inspired by a lot that I've seen all over the country, and I like to say that I've stolen things from other places and brought them to Tampa, and we've adopted those practices and adapted them to what we need in Hillsborough County. So I don't think any individual thing that we're doing is unique, but the combination of things we have transformed the criminal justice system here in Hillsborough County from what was behind the curve just a few years ago to now on the cutting edge of what's being done around the country. When national organizations are looking to what we're doing in Hillsborough County as a model for what a modern 21st century prosecutor's office looks like, to reduce crime, to go after dangerous criminals, to help support victims, to do all the things that we all understand should be part of our criminal justice system. It's fantastic that we've been able to make our mark, not just in Hillsborough, not just around the state, but have been recognized as a national leader.
And Andrew, the numbers are showing, though, right, that it's working.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? I know you may not have them on the top of your head, but it's, again, I love using that word proof of action. The numbers are showing that this does work.
Yeah, so for example, our civil citation program for kids that we started, the recidivism rate is extremely low. We have reduced juvenile arrests in Hillsborough County by 60%.
60%?
60% from 2016 through 2020. And that hasn't corresponded to an increase in the crime rate. We've actually seen the crime rate continue to drop across the board in Hillsborough County over the last several years. Now, last year we had some spikes because of COVID that were seen in urban areas and in rural populations all over the country. You saw spikes in certain types of crime. But rather than sitting back and resting on our laurels, what we've done is partnered with law enforcement, other community groups to try to attack that problem where it exists so that we can get back to a downward trajectory across all groups of crime. But all that being said, we don't measure our success based on what the crime rate was yesterday. It's going to be based on what the crime rate is 5 years from now. Because the whole idea behind what we're doing is long-term strategic problem solving in the criminal justice system that makes our neighborhood safer.
Well, I think that is what makes you unique as well. I mean, I know you're very modest, but I'm just saying. I do like to throw fun into the show on these serious topics as well. So when I'm going to ask a very serious question. But are you a Tom Brady fan? Do you feel like Tom Brady won the Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I feel like Tom Brady was the missing piece of the puzzle. The organization had done a good job in stockpiling talent, and it all came together last year. I tell you, I'm so lucky, we are also lucky to watch the Lightning win the Stanley Cup, and now on their way to win a second Stanley Cup. Go Bolts tonight. To see the Rays win the pennant last year and be one of the best teams in baseball for years and years with another great chance this year. To see the Bucks win the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Rowdies are killing it. I mean, this is Titletown, USA.
Well, the reason why, so I wanted to ask that fun question, and I know you went to college in the East Coast and everything. I wanted to ask that fun question before getting to the very serious one, because with the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl being in Tampa for the first time, home city, hosting the game, and then our team, human trafficking was a very big deal to you. So what you had some plans in place. I mean, granted, it wasn't the Super Bowl that we had hoped for with everybody coming in, but can you also talk about that program that you've been working on, or you've been working on combating human trafficking?
Yeah, the sad reality is that the Tampa Bay area is a national epicenter for human trafficking. And it's one of those things that you don't often see and doesn't get talked about, but it does exist here. And it was so important, and this wasn't just the state attorney's office. I mean, this was a partnership with so many different agencies, federal, state, and local organizations, nonprofit organizations, as well as public agencies, working together to raise awareness, to go after the human traffickers, to protect the victims and the survivors of it. And the Super Bowl, unfortunately, not only brings a huge game and spectacle to the city where it comes, but there's this really dark side of it that comes too, where people travel into that city for human trafficking reasons. It was seen in Miami last couple of years, in Tampa this year. Now, it wasn't as bad in Tampa this year because travel was restricted because of COVID reasons, but the biggest thing was raising awareness to let people know this does exist, to let them know what to look out for, and to make sure that people who are being victimized in human trafficking trade know that there are people out there ready to support them and help them whenever they're ready.
So I have a question for you, and this is a question because, we promote who's going to be on the show. And so I get requests for guests, but I also get questions. So I'm on a group called Moms of South Tampa, and you've met my daughter, who's now 14, and thank you for being so nice to Sammy all the time. But I got several questions to ask the state attorney this. Yes. So at this age, there are a lot of kids that, they go to Hyde Park, or they go to the mall by themselves, or they go, you've got to give them some independence. Do moms and parents really need to be worried if the kids go out by themselves? Are there certain things that they need to look for? And I know you're not the chief of police or law enforcement officer, but that was a question that I got to ask you.
Sure. Well, parents need to absolutely be concerned about their kids when they go out and they're on their own, but not for fear of having them kidnapped into human trafficking. This isn't a Liam Neeson movie where someone just comes up in a car and grabs a kid and goes away. I mean, that does happen, but it's extremely rare. What we see in the human trafficking arena is adults taking advantage of runaways. So kids who have left home, kids who are in the foster system, who don't have a stable home environment, who end up looking for support, financial support, emotional support, just even a place to live and they find it in the arms of someone who appears to be their friend at first, but who's actually trying to get them into, trying to traffic them for either sexual reasons or for commercial reasons. So it's not the 14-year-old going to the mall who's going to disappear and be trafficked. It doesn't happen that way. It's really much more insidious, and the human trafficking trade really preys on people who are in very unstable home environments and run away.
Well, I really appreciate you answering that question and that's why, again, I love having a show like this, because you do get questions in on what people really want to hear about. And from this group, I got several questions asking that question.
No, for those moms and dads too, I mean, the concern about their kids going to the mall is making sure that they're making good decisions and driving safely and all the things that we tell our kids, to do.
You're so lucky that Lucy and Elliot are not at that age.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
Thank God. But you are, I want to bring up some video, and the crew can do that now. When you sat with me also with Tampa Crossroads, which is a nonprofit organization. We just did the story on it. But going back, and I don't mean to go back, but what you were talking about with the juvenile programs in the first place, about trying to stop things before they get to the court system. And I really appreciate that we did this story together too, about Tampa Crossroads.
Yes.
And in that interview, I'm going to post the sound bite that you said just on its own, beyond this story. But can you share that, like what you were talking about, how, again, stopping it before it gets to the court system?
Well, Tampa Crossroads and so many other organizations like that in the Tampa Bay area are critical to helping us achieve our mission. So when we talk about public safety, when we're talking about making our neighborhoods safer, about standing up for victims, about stopping recidivism, we can't do that on our own as prosecutors or even as law enforcement officials. We need these third-party agencies to step up. And in Tampa Bay, we have so many great organizations and so many dedicated people who are committed to actually doing all those things, helping victims, helping people get back on their feet, helping them avoid the downward spiral that can lead to criminal conduct that makes our neighborhoods unsafe. So it was a great promo that you did for Tampa Crossroads. They're one of many organizations that is doing really God's work in our community.
Thank you so much for saying that, Andrew. What can we do? Just say like me, for instance, this Moms of South Tampa group, and I'm sure there's moms of North Tampa and, dads of wherever.
Sure.
What can we as community members just do on our own to keep our community a better and safer place to live?
Well, all the things that we've learned, or that we should have learned growing up, right? Personal responsibility and teaching your kids and making good decisions. But in terms of how people can sort of help what's going on in the criminal justice system, I'd ask that people actually learn about it. We're in a state of our politics where policy is often defined by what fits on a bumper sticker. And these are difficult issues, complicated, nuanced issues that don't lend themselves to just a soundbite or a bumper sticker slogan. Learn about what we're doing in the state attorney's office. Learn about what our law enforcement partners are doing. Learn about these issues and how we're trying to go about it in a strategic, intelligent way to actually make our community safer.
Is there anything, and such great advice, I'm going to show a little video towards the end of the show, but is there anything that you want to talk about that I have not asked you, and a message that you would like to get out there?
I think one of the most important things that we've been doing that's flown under the radar is how we've been helping people who suffer from mental illness and substance abuse. So many people who come into the criminal justice system, some estimates are as high as 80 to 90%, have some form of mental illness or substance abuse or addiction. And arresting and prosecuting people the way we've done it for the last few generations, that hasn't actually solved the problem, isn't a flawed way of thinking. So instead, we've really embraced treatment for these offenders whose criminality is caused by their addiction or their mental illness. If we treat the underlying problem, if we help someone who's addicted get the help that they need, they are less likely to offend. That's what keeps our community safe. It's something that, again, we've partnered with other agencies for, and we are doing some groundbreaking work in the state attorney's office with regard to mental illness and substance abuse to promote what I've talked about before, that long-term strategy of making our community a safer place to live.
Well, I can say on the record, you as a state attorney make me feel safer. So thank you for that.
You're very
I'm proud
welcome.
to be a resident of Hillsborough County. But
I have been working out, so.
But your
I'll
most
keep you safe.
Thank you. But your most important job, and just like mine too. Okay, granted, we love our jobs. We may be quote unquote public figures, right? But your most important job is being a dad.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can we play the video? Because this video is hilarious. Let's play the video first.
Hi, I'm State Attorney Andrew Warren. March 14th is Pi Day, 314. Get it? To celebrate, the Glazer Children's Museum is hosting a Pie in the Face challenge. It's a great, fun, messy way to support the museum. So donate to the museum or you're gonna get a pie in the face. Sarah Cole, the president of the museum, challenged me. So I'm here with my daughters who are big fans of the museum. They're big fans of prank. All right, now that we got that out of the way, I'm challenging my friends in the community to come to... Get messy and support the museum.
Okay, I've watched that video so many times and it still cracks me up. Was the third pie Alex?
Yes.
So
Yes. She got me with a third one. My favorite part is how my little one just lined me up. I mean, she took her time and made sure she got a good hit in.
She did, I have to
she
say. And of
definitely
course,
did.
that video was back in March for National Pie Day.
Yes.
And for support of the museum. But I just wanted to show that side of you as well. Like a dad, hey, bring it on, kids.
That's right. Happy to help the Glazer Kids Museum any way we can.
So wonderful, Andrew. It's always so great to have you on. Before we close out the show, again, anything else that you would like to add?
I just want to say today, go Bolts.
Yes, go Bolts.
Go Rays.
Yes.
And when the season starts, go Bucks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We so appreciate it. And please share this show. You can follow me on multiple social media platforms. Okay, I think this is really cool because the guys always bring up this graphic. Look at this. I mean, I didn't even realize. And I just found out that I was on iHeartRadio the other day. So that's pretty cool. I guess we can add that to the graphic too. But you guys, so I always say this, aren't these studios so cool?
It is. This is an amazing studio, Sarina. I'm so happy you brought me here. And
It's amazing.
Yeah.
CP Communications, Red House Streaming, Dream It, Shoot It, Stream It. So I guess what I'm trying to say to all the people out there as well, that if you dream of doing this, I think studios like this can make it very, very easy. So yeah, Dream It, Shoot It, Stream It. Andrew Warren, thank you again for being on.
my pleasure.
Guys, have a great day, and we'll see you next Wednesday.